Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Uh, I want to make sure that I thank Dr. Damaris Lois Lang for joining in this new experiment of the Teaching Tidbits series. We've been doing this exercise of capturing faculty experiences, faculty practices in teaching and learning, and all of these circumstances that we are living right now have proved how we could become resourceful, how we can become creative in being able to connect, and also being able to continue sharing all of the different experiences that we're having right now, especially in these moments of transition. And we're happy to have this setting. This is going to be a moment for us to have conversations on what this transition has been for us, for our students, for our family. And we're hoping that this is useful for people that are also going through this, and hopefully getting a few tips and continue sharing. We invite everybody to comment, to provide comments for us, so that we're able to hear and also to respond to any of those questions that might pop up. So without further to do, I want to make sure that I introduce and then I welcome Dr. Lang, and then just tell us how you feel.
I'm sure, like everybody else, we are just trying to survive at this time and make sure we do the best that we can for our students. Yes.
Excellent. So what we're going to be doing is, we are talking about remote learning, the things
Correct.
that have been happening um, in this very sudden move that we had to um, adapt and then making different changes. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be asking you a couple of questions, and then we're going to start that dialogue on how we're going to be, um, how you have been addressing all of these challenges that you have. And then, the first question that I have for you is regarding to your students, right? So we want to know how the communication has been between you and your students in this crisis time.
So it's been quite challenging. So I would just let you know what I'm currently doing, and that's how I'm going to respond to the questions that you are asking. And then I would also mention ways in which I think there could be room for improvement and what I envision doing for that part. So I have been communicating with my students. I have used emails, I have used phone calls, I do video chat. I do have tutors and SI leaders that seem to work really well because they tend to engage the students better, being that they are students themselves. I have my research students that are doing that. But there are two main things that I have used that I have seen that has really helped. CUNY has what we call the starfish. We call it Succeed at Hostos. And this is a platform where we have coaches and advisors reaching out to students, whichever way they possibly can. And I'm able to sort of put in the progress of the students. And I totally do get responses from the students. The students email me as soon as I use that platform. So that platform has been very effective. I actually mentioned this to the provost as well, that it's been very helpful for me personally. I attempted to text the students, and in one of the programs that I'm coordinating, and it wasn't as helpful as I thought it would be. I think because I was using Google Voice, and it's Google Voice blocked it for some time because it thought it was spam, and then they reinstated me. So I'm not sure whether that had affected it. So currently, that's what I'm doing. I intend to do all of that, but then I think that in terms of the improvement part, I may have to approach it by having more of a targeted response to our students. And I have created what we call Help Us Help You on Blackboard, which would reach out to the students and let them ask questions based on what they need so that we can actually target the response based on their need instead of just cluttering them with all this information that are important, but then it's not targeted. So that's the new improvement that I'm thinking about doing. I am sure Carlos is speaking, but I'm not sure I heard his.
It was me that I muted myself and I forgot to unmute.
Okay.
That's part of the experience. Now, what I was saying is that it is important for us to be adapting to this, these realities and to the tools that we need to be having and the way that this work. And perhaps we thought that it was going to work in one way, and it didn't work the way that we wanted. But then the most important part is that you were able to identify another way, and then it is working. And I think that is key.
Yes.
Now, the next question comes close to the first question: is how do you set realistic expectations? And we have to set expectations for our students, for the classes that we teach, but within the circumstances that we have right now, how have you been able to do that?
All right. So the approach is this. The bottom line here is that we want to get our students to learn regardless of what is happening, working with the tools that is available to them. All right. So that's the bottom line. So there are two things that I'm doing right now that in terms of the deadlines, I have 3 levels of deadlines for work assignments. I have soft deadline. I hope none of my students are listening to this. But
I do. Facebook.
I know, right? I do have 3 levels of deadline. I have soft deadline, extended deadline, and the hardcore deadline where, well, it's the end of the semester. I have to put your grades in, So the deadline, the only deadline that I make available to my students is the soft deadline. So I tell them, this is the deadline. That's it. You got to meet this deadline. Obviously, some of them don't because, of course, all this is happening. So then I give them the date for the extended deadline. Again, I hope my students are not listening to this.
I mean, it's important. It's important because we want to make sure that we that they know.
Yes,
we are also managing through
exactly
going through this.
And then the hard deadline is, like I said, I need that deadline. I'm working with administrative deadlines. I need to put in your grades. So that's what I've done. One thing that I've done for that. And then in terms of the work submission, we just recently realized that for the labs, when it comes to the sciences, right? Students usually have the manual, they write in it, they sketch, they do things within their working manual workbook. And this time around, we have students that do not have printers for them to print out the material that they need. They don't have scanners to scan when they work it back to scan it, so they can take pictures and whatnot. But some of them don't even have the printers to print down the material for them to do the work. and then even take pictures and upload it. So one of the things that is being done, and this is quite a specific example, is that they have to type out or write out, like if they have to label the body. Let me just use a simple analogy. They have to label the human body, which is really elementary information here. Let's say head, neck, and shoulder, right? It's on the right side, it's on the left side, and then let's say arm, foot, and toe is on the right side. They have to write left side and put it in the correct order: head, neck, shoulder, left side, or right side, whichever one. I mean, they put hands, legs, and toes. And if they miss the order, it means they mislabeled it. So these are like all kinds of different strategies to accommodate our students based on the tools that is available to them, just so that they could do something. So in terms of how to improve on that, that's what is currently being done. But to improve on that, of course, the above is going to be maintained. But again, it's just I'm very happy we've supplied computers to our students, but at this point, we have to help our students get access to technology and tools that would help them become successful. Because if they don't have the tools, and that is really above my help.
How do we balance? How do we balance all of this?
Yeah.
And I want to thank the people that have been joining us already, and then I'm just want to just give them a quick shout out to Dandu and Duhart. Thank you for joining us. Pancho Gomez is also joining us, and it's one of your students or former student. Let me see if I can share this with you. Yes. So she was you were her teacher.
Oh.
Dianabu Traore. So she's joining us. Thank you for joining. And then we have a couple of people that have been joining us as well. Thank you for Dandu also to join us. So we are, if you have questions, please make sure that you have you keep writing in the board. We will be showcasing those questions in here as well. Now, online presence.
Yeah.
It is more important than ever to make sure that then we are able to have connection with our students. How do we know what's happening at the other side of the screen? How do we let students know that you're there for them, and that whenever they have a question, they know that they could feel safe to have a question, that ask the question to you?
Correct. So I'm not sure if this is helpful or not, but when I'm having video chat with my students, I do not show myself. There's no visual because I think I want to avoid distractions, and I also want to make sure that I can zero in on my students and look at them. Like sometimes I pin a specific student when I know they are not understanding me, just to make sure I'm actually being able to sense them more. And I also want the students to feel comfortable. I've had students join in their pajamas and having their kids with them, some of them trying to eat, because it's just been very difficult. And if they don't see me, they tend to be more of themselves. Again, I'm not sure how that is helpful, but that's been my thought process in that. I'm trying very hard to have this similar engagement that I had with them in class, but of course it's not the same. But so I'm finding ways to heighten that engagement. And one of the things that I do is I randomly ask questions and mention the names of the students. I already know my students by name, but it's also a good thing that when they log into the live video chats, their names are there, and I can just randomly call and students for them to answer questions that asking so that I know that they can, and they have access to unmute themselves and mute themselves back. So it's been working that way. And I do a lot of screen sharing, and I do have, I mean, depending on, I do have the pen, so I'm able to write with the whiteboard because I like to write as well.
Mhm.
But what I've also done is that I have live lecture recordings that I had via Panacto. And so it's available to them and they get to look at it before they come. And I try to record some of the sessions that way, just the audio part, because again, with the visual, I'm not, some of the students are really themselves, they haven't totally cleaned up, and I don't want to make anything public. You get what I mean? Like
Sure,
they
sure.
so again, I'm really trying to find a best way or a great balance to all of this at this time.
Good. And this connects also with, it's the balance for how you're going to be providing the content for your students, but then also how do you balance work and life during this crisis? Because right now you're home, you have
Yeah.
family, you
Yes.
have kids, and they're also attending school remotely. How do you manage that?
Well, I am grateful to my husband, John Lang. So my husband and I, we have a 6-year-old Milo Lang, and we have schedules, split schedules of childcare. No joke, by the bone. And so we have that time schedule. If it happens that I have to do something out of the blue, like today, we swapped our schedule so that this time slot I could have it even to do this live video chat. And so going by schedule has been very important for us to be able to also homeschool our child at this time. That's and also do the work that we have to do as well. So that is, I'm not sure how anyone can survive without doing a specific timetable schedule to follow, when to do what. So that schedule is thin to the bone till from Monday up until Saturday. Sunday is when we leave it loose, but I find myself working on Sundays as well, and so I'm getting a little bent out, if not very bent out. So in terms of improvement, I have to make sure something happens. And also Mondays through Fridays, I seem to be back to back. I finish schoolwork. It's time for me to be on schedule for the next thing. I get to it, and I haven't yet created breaks in between to even take a walk or something. I only do that on Sundays. So sometimes 3 days straight, I'm in the house. Of course, we are supposed to be in the house, but at least I could go to the backyard or get some air outside, and I have not done. I don't find myself doing that. So that is an improvement area that I have to
And that
balance.
that in a sense answers the second question. That was, this is with a lot of work, then there is stress,
Correct.
anxiety, not only because of the amount of work, because of everything else that's going on
Yes.
right now in the world. So something to keep in mind, something to continue to work on, to make sure that you identify activities to do to reduce some of that stress and anxiety that some of the things that I've been done is to avoid watching too much news, because it is getting to your psyche, and
Yeah.
is better, you need to be informed, but then not
Yeah.
as much at this moment. Now
Oh, and
you
the stress
mentioned,
ball
but
works.
that works too. I have one somewhere in here. Um, the other question, you've been mentioning a little bit about that. You mentioned some resources that you've been using. Any other resources besides the ones that you have mentioned that you've been using?
Yeah, I use video chat a lot, and among the different video chats that I use, my favorite is Blackboard Collaborate. It's good for meetings. It's good for classes. You can the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. It's good for meetings. It's good for classes. It's a video chat which is very easy to use and has a lot of resources in terms of sharing information and all of that. So my favorite is the Blackboard Collaborate for classes. I've not had any glitches or any issues with it at all. I have used WebEx and Microsoft Teams as well for meetings. WebEx, I attempted to use it because I needed private voting, but I'm sure probably the others have it, and I have not yet explored that. Um, I know one or two people may be wondering if I use Zoom. I use Zoom in my personal as like I will put Zoom for my neighbors to have conversations with my son just for, and sometimes it will cut off after some time because I mean it just does that. So but professionally, the three things I am using, I have used Zoom before as well. And then I also sometimes use a conference call to have a quick, because sometimes I need to correspond and people are not ready for video chats.
Yes.
Using a conference call sort of works out. I want to mention this goes especially to faculty members. I cannot stress the importance of having live lecture capture. Panapto, like during this summer break, if our faculty members could lecture and record it through Panapto, which is on the Blackboard and available to all faculty members, that would really be helpful to our students because then they can gauge and listen to lectures at their own time and pace, and then even pre-prepare them. I have three of my no, they are not my students, but they are going to be my students in the summer because that message is an information that I always share with all my students, and I think it has dwindled to those who decide to take my class because students do their homework, they check with their colleagues, and I have three students emailing me asking me for materials pertaining to my lectures for them to start looking at it before classes start.
That's great.
I was so impressed. I was so impressed. I haven't yet scheduled time. I haven't yet scheduled the time that I'm going to use to prepare my summer material. But because of them, I expedited that scheduling so that I could make it available to them. Because at this point, with our students, some of them are adult students. They have their parents and all of that. They want to. This is just so amazing. So anyway, yeah. So but more importantly, I'm also using CC Commons materials. I know there's a lot of companies giving free stuff, but I'm not sure how long it's going to stay free. So I'm being careful not to overly use those materials so that when it's no longer free, it becomes a financial burden to our students.
Yes.
So that's something that I'm also being careful about looking, even if it's free and I know it's productive. Like there's this particular company that is giving this free thing to students, learner, and I've used them, but the amount of money you pay after the free period is over is way cheaper than other companies. I'm not going to mention names, but other companies where after the free period is over is it's a leg and arm for our students. So I'm not even touching that. So CC Common materials is the way I'm going with materials for our students at this time.
That's one of the things that I've been asking faculty to be careful, or telling faculty to be careful about, because yes, it is good that it's free, that companies are offering their services, but then what's going to happen after that? And this reminds me of the freemium approach of software. That's exactly the same concept, but we have to be careful. Just to follow with the questions, you mentioned a number of challenges that you're facing and things that you have to work on. Any other particular challenge that you want to share and say, this is the one that I forgot that I want to share?
Yeah. I know, so far as I'm concerned, every single faculty member that I have personally encountered is looking for ways and have the heart to help our students, but they are unable to reach them. So mobilizing students so that we can be able to reach them is so key. But I think we have to centralize pertinent information that will effectively support our students instead of having it all scattered. We should find a way to centralize that information because the communication is sort of lost in the cloud of everything else. And so I don't know. I mean, I just have in terms of improvement. So that's the current situation that most of us are in right now. But in moving forward, the way that I'm thinking that at least for our institution, we have 35 programs. Are we able to channel communication and everything through the programs? Because if it's done through the department, well, within the department, all the students that may be part of the department may also be taking courses in other departments as well. But when a student is, if we are targeting reaching our students through the programs, and we have 35 of them, and we have information pertaining to the program so that the students who are in their programs know that if I need anything pertaining to my courses, I go through my program and get that information. I think that would help centralize. This is just a thought process.
I think this is happening. Some departments have been discussing this and have been approaching me in how they could best do it.
Oh, perfect.
There are challenges, there are opportunities for those challenges. So I think one of the key elements is communication.
Yes.
And we have always had conversations about how do we improve communication. And there's, it's not only a reality of our institution, is also a reality everywhere.
Yeah.
That we have to continue improving communication. But these circumstances have pushed us to really think about how to streamline those communication approaches, which is, it's given some good practices that are hopefully does continue to happen once we get to this new normal.
Yeah.
One other question that I have for you is, with respect to students, what challenges have students shared with you?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's several. There has been changes in the dynamics related to their family, even roommate situations. They some of them had arrangements where, in the roommate situation, for example, there are so many in that apartment that they know that you work from this time to this time, so I am here from this time to that time. So it's become a problem. Dependence, not just kids alone, but some of them take care of their parents and other family members. Income loss. A lot of our students are part-timers because they have to go to school. So school is full-time for them, and then their job is part-time. And that has been a great big issue for them. And so they're in survival mode, trying to get food, making sure that, I mean, they are not sure if groceries will stay open. They are not getting enough income coming in because they are not salaried individuals. Resources. Yeah, I'm sure some of us have had internet glitches where we have to upgrade our internet. So sometimes even during communication with them, they get all choppy and they can't hear, and everything else may be good on my end. But so even the resources for us to engage technology-wise is limiting for them, and a space to work. I've had some of them that are like, Professor, I'm sorry, I have to be in the bathroom. And I'm like, it's fine. That's why I'm not sure about the recording of these live lectures, because at this point they have to be in a tools room because they can't even go outside.
And that's where the
Of craziness. I mean, but some of them are doing totally fine. Some of them are doing well, but again,
and that's where the flexibility and also the expectations that we have of our students, that are expectations that you know are you want to be able to accommodate that flexibility for our students, and understanding that they're going through a lot of different things, right? I'm going to share with you a comment from Tatiana, who is saying that it's very important to have active pause, even try to schedule for students as well. Thank you for that feedback. And one of the things that we want to make sure is that we it seems that we continue to work. We get up, go to the computer, go to work, and have a meeting or have a class, just switch a browser, and sometimes we lose the sense of time,
yeah.
and that we end up just continuing. So being mindful of that is very, very crucial. Thank you for that feedback, and thank you for Rochelle Shaw to joining us to this conversation. And if you have other questions, this would be the time. We have a few more minutes that we'll be having this session to ask questions to Dr. Lang, to myself. We'll be happy to answer. Anything else that you want to add, Dr. Lang?
Yeah, actually, I would like to share a public value idea I have that may be useful in helping all of us move forward with our new normal as an institution. But let me actually take this opportunity to actually thank my Harvard professor, Professor McMore, for his tutelage in helping me understand the steps in creating public value. And the public value that I have in mind is a continuation as an institution. How can we think about a continuation in providing quality education to our clients who are students in this seemingly new normal that we have? And I know this is going to be a different conversation on a different forum, but like the main problem that we are facing right now is obstacles that our students are facing, and actually obstacles that our faculty and administrators are facing as well, which includes personal economy, personal obstacles, economical, health, academic resources like internet and all those different things that would allow us to move forward. And more importantly, the communication is heavily cluttered. And you open your, I'm sure if I open my email right now, I wouldn't be able to know where to start because I have given a short break from looking at it. So I know this is another conversation, but I'm just thinking that this public idea of thinking about how we can provide quality education to our clients who are students in this new normal is really something we should look closely at. Thank you. I'm sure Carlos is speaking, but I cannot hear him.
Again, I forgot to unmute my mic. That is very crucial, right? To make sure that we know that we have a support network, and we have our colleagues. There's different ways of keeping in touch, of communication with our colleagues, family members, friends. And one of the things that we've seen in this crisis is that people have been connected more in some cases, being able to have those communications, taking advantage of the technology, and that helps a lot to make sure that then we are able to take advantage of all of those different resources,
Yeah.
even creating this type of spaces for us to be able to have a conversation. Hopefully this this information will be helpful for other people, and then we're seeing a lot of content Um,
I have a question that is coming in from another feed. It says, "Do you think the feeling of being home can affect the learning process or progress of a student at any age?" And then the second question is, "Do you think there is a way to cater to most learning styles of students through remote learning?" Um, Carlos, what do you think?
um, one of the things that we have to be careful in whenever we're thinking about this transition to online learning is to be moving in the direction of synchronous teaching,
Mm,
because we have that sense that everybody will be able to connect with you and then be able to participate or feel comfortable also, because it's not easy to uh, be in front of the class, the student raising their hand, and because they don't want to speak, and the same way by watching themselves in camera.
mhm.
So that is also something that we have to make sure that we keep in consideration. And asynchronous learning is something that to consider. As you mentioned, lecture capture is a solution. Flipping learning, which is a term that is being used widely in the education space, is important to consider. How do we create an online learning environment so that students are able to consume the content at the time that they're able to learn better, right? Talking about learning styles. Not
Yeah.
everybody learns at the same time in the same environment with same lighting. So if I'm able to watch your video in the evening, because that's where I learn better,
Mhm.
uh, I have the opportunity to do so because you have provided the lecture captures for me, or the readings, or the activities. And then using this type of spaces, the synchronous spaces, to be able to have conversations about what didn't work, what I didn't understand. And then you will see more productive conversations, even because, if you want to use synchronous teaching to lecture, you're not going to give the opportunity for students to to digest the content, to see what they learned, what they didn't learn, and then you're going to lose that opportunity. So that's something that is crucial for us to keep in mind. And
Mhm.
there is one question um, from Tatiana saying, how do the people who don't know about informatic security can choose a tool to do their works with confidence? We've been seeing this a lot, and companies offering um, the opportunity to use their tools and all of that. One of the things that we have to make sure is that we read the fine print, and it is important, especially if you're an educator, that you are going to be having communication with your students.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that we protect the security of our and the privacy of our students.
Students.
Make
Yeah.
sure that then you spend some time to read the fine print,
Yeah.
to make sure that then you understand what the privacy policies and practices are from these companies, and hopefully the institution that you are working, that where you work, then they are providing you with guidance on the type of solutions or platforms that you can use. There are also knowing companies that are or using companies that are known. It's also key. You have the big players. Those you have. I don't want to give names to those companies, but that are companies that have been in the industry, that have been providing, and that those are not going to disappear. And
Yeah.
then you don't know what's going to happen with your data, because also as an instructor, you have to be responsible to keep the data and the records of the instruction and the interactions that you have with your students, or assessment records that you have with your students. If you have a platform that you don't know, you have the risk of losing all of that data. So those are small tips to think about, and it's very extensive topic as well. That we have ideas for other type of topics that we could discuss in teaching tidbits. But I think we are. I'm very happy with this initial episode of teaching tidbits. Thank you, Dr. Land, for joining
Thank you for having me.
in this experiment, and we're going to be having other guests come into this uh, program, and then we will be providing as much information as we can. We want to thank everybody that has been joining us, and one of the things that we invite everybody to do is, if you um, want to see more of these videos, follow our Center for Teaching and Learning, Hostos Center for Teaching and Learning page in Facebook, in Twitter, Instagram. We didn't put that information. Next time we'll put that information on the screen, but then you can also find our website in the Hostos webpage for the Center for Teaching and Learning, where we have a lot more of these videos and a lot of resources for faculty who are going through the transition, focusing a lot on the pedagogical approaches for teaching and learning. So with that, I want to thank again Dr. Line, and then thanking everybody for tuning in. And then until the next time we connect again. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you.
Thank you.